Hi guys, this is Elizabeth Harbison coming at you with another video I felt very, very strongly that I need to do, that the Lord wants me to do, and I'm going to try to talk about it with as much love and compassion as I can, because I've been there and I've done that. So I want to provide just some resources in talking about our topic today, which is muscle testing. What is muscle testing? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it something that Latter-day Saints should be doing? Let's just go through it. Let's dive right in. So you've probably seen my first video. If you're watching this, you may have seen my first video about body code and about what happened with that, my experiences with that, and I just want to talk about. I want to go into greater detail about muscle testing and what the specific dangers of muscle testing are, other than what I experienced, though those are very real dangers as well. I'll just go over a review. So when I was pregnant with my last baby, I had a midwife. On her site, she said she was a naturopath, herbal, meaning she uses herbs to treat women. What I didn't know was that the way that she found what herbs to use was based off of someone who also used muscle testing and her own muscle testing. So it was a combination of somebody else's muscle testing and hers. There's this is when I first heard about muscle testing, I'm like, oh yeah, that would make sense. Like, yeah, that makes sense that your body would respond yes or respond no, based on if something was true or not, right? Like, of course it would. That sounds right, you know. Well, I was going to the temple about once a month whenever I was first whenever I was first pregnant, trying to find a midwife and then doing the actual things with my midwife. I was going to the temple about once a month. And when I was praying about whether or not I should do this, I didn't get a clear yes or no. When I left, when I was talking about, like, is muscle testing okay? Like, is this all okay? I remember I was like in the changing room. I was wanting to change, and to leave after being in the celestial room and stuff, not really getting a clear answer. And it was like, do not divinate. And I was like, do not divinate. I'm like, okay, I won't use a divining tool, like I won't use a pendulum. Okay, like I won't do that. And so I didn't. It was fine. But what I didn't realize until very, very far into the future, like 8 months later, muscle testing is a form of divination. If we're praying if something is good or if it's not good, the first place we need to look is in the scriptures, where it's the words of the Lord that He has already said to His people, that we are charged with the responsibility to know as Christians and Latter-day Saints. So the first scriptures I want to read to you, Deuteronomy 18:10 through 12 and 13:2. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, fortune teller, or an enchanter, sorcerer, witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, medium, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. So the context of these scriptures is Israel is, I think they're moving into, I think they're in some way associated with the Egyptians. The Egyptians were into all of this stuff. And because they were into all of this stuff, the Lord had to make clear what was acceptable to him and what was not acceptable to him, because the Egyptians were all about all of this type of stuff. It's interesting that the first verse, or the first statement in verse 10, is that there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire. That was sacrifice. That was child sacrifice to their gods. And then it's like, or that useth divination. Like, whoa. Just, it's like, are we, order of importance here? Is that what we're talking about? Because that's a little crazy. But I didn't realize till much, much later that divination, that's what muscle testing is. What is, I mean, another scripture I can give you. You know, there's the glory of God is intelligence. If we look that one up here, that one I'm pretty sure is in D&C. So we love to talk about, as Latter-day Saints that do muscle testing, that some of them do muscle testing, they talk about how because everything was created spiritually before it was created physically, then we can tap into this physical, this spiritual realm, the spiritual nature of everything. And then that gives us the right to be able to divinate, to find hidden knowledge through supernatural means. People would say that using your body isn't supernatural, but because your body is physical, but you're using it in a supernatural way. You're using it in the form of, I'm going to test with these words and they'll have these vibrations, and oh, it's all scientific because they've done studies on it, and there's frequencies to everything, and because there's frequencies, then like it's not magical at all, and we don't need to be worried about it, right? Okay, just because science can measure spirit and consciousness does not mean that it is now okay and that the Lord has changed his laws and what he has said about divination. Unless we are given express permission to find hidden knowledge via supernatural means, like through the Urim and Thummim, like we're translating the next set of scriptures that need to come out, unless we've received further instruction expressly from the Lord through his approved priesthood holders on the earth, we have no right to continue divinating and using divination to try to find what we want right then and there. This week we're going over the week that I'm, filming this. We just went over, Jesus's temptations in the wilderness. One of those temptations was to be able to just instantly have fame. if he throws himself off of this temple area where everybody looks and everybody's by it, then he'll have instant fame because his angels will catch him and it will just be instantaneous. You don't have to work for it at all. And I believe that's kind of what muscle testing can give us. We are so attracted to instantaneous answers. Let me tap into the knowledge of the universe to get instantaneous answers, and then everything will be okay. But guess what? That was a temptation of the devil to not have to work for those things. We can't keep using one or two scriptures to justify our usage of this or of this method. We can't keep using just one or two things. DNC 93, this is so good. DNC 93, what does that talk about? That talks about how Christ became who he is. We talk about, in like muscle testing language, we talk about truth. Is it true? Is it not true? Like you can muscle test all these things. You can see if this is from the Lord. But the Lord did not gain his glory by hot wiring fame or by hot wiring his knowledge to what he needed to do. He had to pass through 40 days in the desert fasting to remove these yokes and this bondage and to be with God and to have an encounter with him. He had to do the hard things. And if we want knowledge about how to heal, which is usually why we muscle test, because we have things wrong with us. If we want knowledge of how to heal, we need to apply ourselves in understanding and in study about what things would be useful for us. We go to the Lord in prayer. He can help guide us to answers, but we have to learn and find those answers for ourselves. DNC 93, 36, and 37. This is really good. The glory of God is intelligence, or in other words, light and truth. Light and truth forsake that evil one. Every spirit of man was, I'm just going to go on, 38. Every spirit of man was innocent in the beginning. And God, having redeemed man from the fall, men became again in their infant state, innocent before God. How is it possible? Just 38, 93, DNC 93, verse 38. We became again in our infant state, innocent before God. Meaning we did not know. We didn't know what to do. It's so important that we remember we came to this earth to gain knowledge. And knowledge is the only thing we can take with us when we leave if we want to learn about how to heal ourselves, how to what can help us in our condition. If we want to learn, we need to apply ourselves and study or ask God to point us in the right direction of the people that will truly help us. And I guarantee you, God is not going to be out here telling you to muscle test and hotwire your way to knowledge. Let me tell you what it can do. It can bring you into such deceit that you could lose your sanity very easily, and you can put your life in jeopardy if you are not careful. And it's not about finding the right muscle testing practitioner either. It's not about that. Stop muscle testing. It is inviting an evil, devilish spirit into your heart. And it's really hard to try to break that yoke of bondage once you've let it in. You can through Jesus Christ and through repentance, and I did. But don't even let it in the first place. And if you're suffering right now with intrusive thoughts, or if you're feeling like you're plagued and you're participating in muscle testing, and you feel like you're never getting better, just know the Lord has already proclaimed his will about this. So I wanted to just share this with people. I wanted to share the truth about muscle testing. It's not about finding the right practitioner. It's not about casting out devils. Because what are you doing when you're casting out devils? You're trying to use the Lord's name in vain, and he said it was an abomination before him. Kind of awkward. Yeah. So I just want to share these thoughts with you about muscle testing. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in my description of my channel. So have a good one, you guys. God bless.